Hi guys. So in this video we will do a mock test, a mock exam test for PCAP, which is Python Certification Associate Programmer Exam. So how we are going to do is, let me tell you the format. Format is we have 40 questions and we need to score 70%, which means 28 questions right to pass this exam. The questions will be multiple choice, so we have to pick any one answer among the options, and time limit is 65 minutes, which is 1 hour and 5 minutes. So let's get started. This is me in the picture. My name is Prem Asim Jain, and please subscribe to my channel and like the video if you think that it's a good work and you like it. So let's get started. This is a mock practice test number 5, and let's begin this. First question is, choose the correct output of the following code. So we have this following code over here, and let's see what could be the output. So code looks like it's a for loop with two values inside it, and then we are trying if the first element is equal to 1, which of course it would be. It is going to do a moduli by 0, which of course will throw an error, and this error would be error division error or index error, something like that, and it would print it. So it could be anything among this, or it could be something else as well. So let's guess what could be the result. It could be integer division or moduli division by 0, and list index out of range. So list index out of range, yes, this could also happen. Why? Because since it's a for loop, and whenever you do the exception block, as soon as you catch this exception, it can run for one more time, and next iteration you will get this, because this is a list with one element, and then here you would be accessing element number 2. So you will get this, both these errors. So let's run and test it out. Yes, we are right. For example, in case if you don't have this error, then program might break, and then you don't see this error. So this is important. Whatever the exceptions are being thrown, you might need to catch that, or it could always do it like a base exception, and that's how it would be caught. Or you can just do a except block. So this would also catch, but it won't print anything because you're not going with a specific exception. Second question, choose the correct output of the following. You have a car class. If speed which you are passing the argument is greater than 100, then you would raise the value error, like any value more than 100 is speed out of limit error, and then you print the speed and do your instantiating this, no, you're calling this method with 120. So of course it would raise the value error out of limit. Yeah, because this is the message which has been passed to the exception, so this would get printed. And then why not 120? Because after this, once the exception is being thrown, this line would not even execute, so you don't see the print statement of 120 to make you believe. See here, value error, speed out of limit. Choose the output. So this is a little bit tricky and a nice question. Let's understand that we are passing a default argument to this method. Now the thing is, whenever you would call it, if you don't pass any list, it would take this list, and since this is something which is by reference and not by value, so it would print it would append the elements. For example, if I also have z and I have 100 value here, and if I say print z, then each time if you don't pass the value, it would print 100. That is fine. That is, it won't change because it's a value. But here, whenever this method would called, it is going to append in this empty list the value of this x, whatever is being passed. So you are running in a for loop these values. If I is not in, if it's not in here, then you are calling this make method with the value, like with the element. I don't like it I actually. If it could be e, which is element, but I is for index and e is for element, but that's fine there. Now when you do this and you're passing this as the argument, so in this array the value would be appended, the x value. So the output which we are looking for the first iteration, 5 is not in here, so you will see 5. In second you will see 5 get appended with 8. In third you will see the value 10, so it would go a b c and then 10, and in last it would be 5, 8 and 2, because this would be reused over and over again. So I also have printed z, but if you remove this, this is what you're looking here. Which among the following is correct way to open the file for read-only purpose? So there are modes when you open the file. So this would be the R mode, which is read. So this is the correct way. There is nothing like read only. Fill in the blanks. So below code will print failed. This is a class and we want it to be failed. Whenever the numbers are less than 33, it would raise the error student failed. Student is a class, subclass of exception. So that's how you're printing. So these guys are asking what should be the correct code in the fill in the blank to make this thing work. So I would say if you just do a pass, this should work. So first answer is correct. Second is if you just instantiate it and the student is taking one parameter, that should also work instead of doing pass. Because if you don't define the constructor, that is fine. Python would provide the default constructor. If you provide one, that is fine too. It would not call the default constructor, but your constructor. Now the problem here is that this is also passing the statement. So apart from self, you might need to expect one more to make this work. This also works. Now you are calling the super here, which means the exceptions constructor, and this can accept the message, which is your x or status, whatever the parameter you are passing, and it would get assigned in the args. There is a args list in which this or tuple wherein this message would go. And last and not the least is this, wherein you directly print failed. So this should work, but the problem is we need failed to be printed once and not twice. That's what is being asked in the question. See here, this will print it twice, so this is not the correct answer. Choose the correct output of the following. This is your class car, again exception with max speed. So whenever you would invoke for the max speed, you are returning 100 in this. Now you instantiated the object with multiple values. Would that even work? Yes. If you have a constructor, custom constructor, then you might be restricted with these values. But otherwise, exception initializer or constructor takes variable arguments, which means you can give any number of these. and they would be printed as a message later on. Anyway, so you have the speed input you are doing as 400, and then you're comparing if max speed is less than the speed, then you're raising the exception, which is all fine. You're catching it and printing it. Once you print it, you would see this tuple whatever you're passing. Choose the correct output of the following. You have a list, you are inserting few values. Now important thing is when you are trying to insert, it would push the other elements. It doesn't overwrite it when you use insert. If you want to overwrite something, you might like to do it like this. At index 2 do blah blah, right? But if you say if you want to do L1 dot insert at index 2, which means it would add another value, and you will end up having 4 values instead of original 3. So L1 dot insert, okay, you also have to pass the value at index 2 blah. See, so now you have 4 values. So insert doesn't overwrite, but inserts will push the value at index 2 one more index, like at index number 3. Once you know this, it would be easy to predict the answer for this. What we are doing is we are trying to get the index of 0th element, and we are trying to insert at the 0 element the value which is 0. So string 0 would go here, this would be pushed, then the index of 1 would be moved to the index 2. So at index 2 the 1 would be will go, and then 0 0 1 1. So the current index of 2 would be 4. So at 4th this 2 would come, and this would be pushed at 5th. So we'll see 6 values, and values would be like this here. Wait. Fill in the blanks so that below code will print I am in exception. So you are trying to do a try, and this is an interesting question because there will be some variations to get this. First is you would just say raise, and this gives error, so it won't do anything. Oops, actually it did, but this is a syntax error. So this one is correct, and then if you pass it just exception, it would be fine. The class you can always throw. You can always throw the object. This should be fine. And then if you try to raise a string, this is not fine syntactically, but you can still raise it, and then it might be caught as exception. So this is good, this is good, this one is also good, but not the raise assign, because you're trying to assign something to a keyword here. So this will be a syntax error, and syntax errors are not caught. See, now which among the following statement regarding a text and binary files are correct? Files in which the content written using specific software. For example, a Word file sys.doc file is visible as it is when they are opened in a text editor. They are called as text file. This is correct. But a file with the contents which are written and cannot be opened in Notepad editor, and they show some Chinese kind of characters, zeros and ones, which means they are not text file. In a binary file, the data is stored as a series of bits, binary values, zeros and ones. It could be, it could not be, not sure. In text file, the data is stored as a sequence of characters. That I don't think so, but we can keep this for review because we cannot just run this and validate it here. Choose the correct output. Here you have Python. Let's see it here. So this is your string. You're measuring the length and then you're trying to print this character to whatever is the number of length or iteration it would have with a gap. And then you're assigning the string to Java. So first you will get Python, and then for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For rest 5 times you would see Java. So 1 time Python, 5 times Java. Total 6. Choose the correct output of the following code. You have a car, final price, and then you have a private method with this which returns. So final price would call price, and then this would happen. So final price is returning this method, and this method is then being invoked, so it would return 2000. This, I guess this is all fine and it won't have any issues, because this method is returning another method, or you can say a function is returning a function, and that function is returning a value. So you are invoking this function, and then by this you are invoking the function which is being returned by this, and that is returning 2000, which is a valid printable return literally. Choose the correct output of the following. We have this method withdraw, and then they have given a lot of outputs over here. So which one should be the one? That's what the question is all about. So let's see. You have a withdraw method. You're withdrawing 600. Balance is 300. If balance is less than amount which you want to withdraw, then you would throw an exception which says withdrawal limit exceeded. Else it would print that it would subtract the values from the balance of whatever amount, and then it would deduct the balance in the local variable over here. However, whenever you will call this method again, balance would be 300, but that's fine. Now the problem is, once this exception is being thrown, you would see these values. So what are they asking here? Let's see. Because I guess it would come here since your value is 600, and then it would print these two statements straight cut and nothing else with a balance, though balance would be 300. So amount left in your account is 300, because when we subtract the balance from the account, it would be 300. Choose the correct output of the following. This is interesting. This is recursion actually. So we are trying to invert whatever is being given in a recursive manner. So this should be the answer, but let's see how is it happening. So whenever you're passing this method with some value, a string, of course, it would measure the length. Whenever the length is 0, you're passing return, which means the stopping point of any recursion. And then you are grabbing the first element, and then you're calling back this for the remaining. So in recursion, you have to keep incrementing or decrementing, right? That is what is needed in a recursion. So you will grab whatever is the value from the first to the remaining length of that string. And once it goes, it would again call this, will grab another. So first it would grab P, second it would grab Y, third it would grab P and then send the remaining. Then it would grab H and then send the remaining. Python certification on certification, and after that at last it would return null. Once the null is being returned, it would start doing the print statements. Let me show you this by running in a debug mode. So what happened is now you have the variable as Python, right? And then first element is p, which has come here, and then this method is being invoked again. Second, this guy has passed after p is stored here. Now if you would look at the stack, there is a method called stack. The method piles up basically one over another, so you would be able to see them. So this is what these methods, when you do recursion, this would show the value. This is Python, this is p is gone, y, this is y gone, and remaining. So if you do it over and over for some time, this is what you see until, and remember this won't be executed because one method is again calling itself and again calling itself. So it's in the verge of calling, but nothing is getting returned. Once this condition meets, the return would start happening, then the print statement would start running. So we'll see that in a bit. So you come here, now you have n at this point. So n would come, it would get chopped off, the remaining string will have length 0. So now it is coming to the print. So it would do it in a reverse order. So in this x is I, in this, so these are the values which are stored at the local level of each method. Each method has a stack, uh, method call stack, and it has a local variable in its scope. So that is how it will start printing it in the reverse way, and then it will exit. That's the answer which we are looking for. Choose which among the following are text files. Because the remaining file, if you open, they would show you something binaries or some strange weird code. It's not human readable, but CSV, text, and py file would be text files, like pure text can be read. Choose the output. You have d is equal to and type. Now the confusing thing is dictionary and set both uses this, but when you use this by default it would be a dictionary, it won't be a set. So please remember that. And then dictionary is also, it has a key set, right? So dictionary implicitly uses set. So you can imagine set as a dictionary which the key does not have any value or the null values. So set is some kind of dictionary without the values associated with its keys. As simple as that. So let's run this, and we got the dict. This is dictionary type, not the set. Choose the correct output of the following code. You have A, B, C. C has two classes. Everyone has a constructor. And the question is, if you call super, what would be called? Question is, if you are having multiple inheritance, is it going to call both A and B? Or is it going to call just one, and which one would that be? So it start from left to right. Whatever is the leftmost, it would call that. So only print A would get called and then print C. So our correct answer is AC. Which among the following characters sets a variable length encoding? So encoding is different from the character set. So encoding is, so what they are asking is which among the following character sets have the variable length encoding. We'll mark it as for review. Now ASCII and Unicode UTF. So you are encoding it in 8 bits or 16 bits or 32. 32 is fixed. 8 have the ASCII inside it. ASCII is already fixed, it's not variable. I guess UTF-16 might be variable length encoding. Let's see, we might be wrong in this. And that's fine because so long as we are doing correct questions, more than 28 will pass the exam. Which among the following encoding is backward compatible with ASCII character set? Backward compatible is if you use UTF-8 or if you use ASCII. So UTF-8 has same encoding for ASCII, whatever is the number, the code point and everything. So that's a exact overlap, which is UTF-8. Which among the following are not uh, is not a character set? So UTF-8 is encoding, it's not a character set. UTF-16 and 32, they are encoding and not a character set. ASCII and Unicode is a character set which has code points. Which among the following encoding leads to more memory consumption? Of course, it's 32 bits because each 32 bits each because it's more memory, right? So even if you have to print A, for example, A in ASCII will be 7 bits. For UTF-8, it will be 8 bits. But for the same information, you have to spend 32 bits to write. That's why it consumes more memory. Choose the correct output of the following code. You have a function lambda which accepts two arguments and print A. If A is greater than B, else print B. This is simple. And then you are invoking this function with 40 and 20. So it would print A if 40 is greater and 60, whatever is the greater value would be printed. Choose the correct output of the following code. You have A, B, A, B. Uh, so you are doing actually the swiping of the variable in here. So 50-20 would become 20-50. But if the values are different, the results might be different. So this logic is doing nothing, but it is swiping the values. So if you will print AB here and here as well, so you would see, let's do it this way. So first your A was 50 and 20, then you did this XOR. So it 50 become 38 and it was 20. So this is how this value was moving. So what we did is 400 minus 20 is 480, and then we did 480 plus 20, which became 500, which was defined in B, and then we did uh, this minus this is 20. So A is equal to, we did in here, so this is XOR operator which did the task basically for us. Fill in the blanks so that below code will print 1, 2, 3. This is also very, uh, you know, challenging question, because you are trying to check if value is not none. You have been given a list with the integers, floats, and none value, and what you expect is you will filter out the float values and the none value. To filter out the float, you can do, if the type is not float, you are not going in here. If the value is not float, then you will be coming here. This is one way of doing it, but can we do it with none? So that cannot happen with none. So none is getting printed because the type of none is not none. If you do type of none is equal to none, you will end up getting false. Let's say if you do type of none, this is none type and not none. That is why this is been coming. So what you can do, if you do this is not equal to none type, that is not even a thing, none type. So this won't be a good answer, this won't be a good answer, but this can be done like none type, and if you do none type again, then this would work. So let's do this. So if you do print type none, it is none type, and then it is none. Tricky question. Choose the correct output of the following code. You have a string and you're slicing from 3 to 6. So basically you would end up with nothing in S. Then you are concatenating two numbers, 6 and 631, and you're grabbing the index of 6, which would be 0. So in slices, you can always have invalid index and it doesn't complains you. It worst case, it won't give you anything, but nothing like index out of or any error. So we'll see 0 once this we executed. Choose the correct output of the following code. Now we have a class and a sports car. Sports car inherits car. This calls a speed, which will print 10. Whenever you will create the object sports car, you would see 100, but then you also have a speed, which is overridden method in the subclass, which is printing 200. So this class actually gets the instance of sports car class. So when you say speed, it would print this and not this. So you would see 200 here. And next thing is, this is generalized and this is specialized. So whenever there is a specialized method available in the subclass, that would take the precedence over the superclass implementation of those similar overridden methods. Choose the correct output. You have a list. Uh, so you are passing single number 5 in the list, and then inside that list you are trying to do the slicing of any number, like the starting number till 5, which means 5 is not included, so till 4 this will be returned here. But this method has two returns, so the return in the finally would take over, and whatever the return was here, that would be ignored. So any value including 5 and after that till the end would be returned. So your answer should be this. Python also provides the multi-returns, which means not like Java. I'm not sure how it's happening in Java 12 or 14, but in Python you can always have two returns, which will be two or more, like multiple returns in a statement without creating any object. So this is what we got. Choose the correct statement from the following. UTF stands for Unicode Text Format, Unicode Transformation Format. So this is transformation format, UTF. And while doing transformation, they have UTF-8 because it's Unicode, right? 16 and 32. So A is represented how in 32-bit that information is being given. Now A's value would be there in ASCII. ASCII value is, for example, 65. So how would you represent 65 in Unicode format, decoding in UTF-6, sorry, UTF-8, UTF-16 or UTF-32? That is how it is. But the character set is Unicode. So there is a Unicode character set which would be used basically while encoding. So the way you encode, you have to use the same format of decode, otherwise it doesn't make even sense. And you can encode in UTF-32, and if you try to, when you're reading, you try to decode it using UTF-8 or ASCII, it would give trouble. So it's the same thing. If I am writing something in English, the reader has to know English and read it in English. If I'm writing something in English and someone is a Chinese user, if he tries to read it, he would get error. He won't even comprehend. So that is how this UTF encoding thing works. And we will also mark it for review. Choose the correct output of the following. We have a square method which returns the square of the passed argument. And then we have a map function which would be applied on each of the elements in the list, and map would be returned. If we print L, this would print map object address because map returns you iterable and unless you convert it in list or you iterate it, it doesn't apply the operation on those elements. However, if you would just say list over here, it would print the square. Or what you can do is you can just undo this and would do for element in L, print element. This would also print all the values inside the list. But if you will just print L and not this, it's going to give you the address of the map function. Choose the correct output of the following code. You have car details and then you have map over here. Now interesting thing is this is you're combining whatever are the two parameters, concatenating them and returning based on whatever is the input type. If it's a number, it will add it. Otherwise, if it's string, it will concatenate it. But if it these are two different, it would throw an error. It might throw an error. Anyway, that is too much of information. The main information is in map you can pass more than two parameters or more than two arguments, so long as they are even tuples. So you're passing these tuples to this, it would get combined and it would get printed with the hyphen, whatever, not hyphen, but the kind of or symbol here, and this would get printed one time and not twice. Why is that? Because this is a iterable, and if you remember, the iterable has a pointer from where it starts, whatever the element it starts. So once that finishes, then the iterable will not print rest of the values basically because it's already finished. So let's run this and I'll show you some variations. So this would print just this thing and not rest of the things. Now let's say if it only printed one, this eventually came out to be empty. Now if you need to print the second line, print second, so this would print the remaining here. So first this got printed, then the second line, and then the rest. Why this printed the rest with the colon? Because for this iterable, the pointer, if you do seek, right? So first it printed the first value and then it got break. So the pointer and the iterable was at the second position. So it continued from there and finished. But if you don't break it, then first the pointer would go and it would come to the last, and then once you start this, after last there is nothing. So after second line it won't print anything. Choose the correct output of the following. You have L1 with a range, so this would only return the range function address which will be part of this array. And second is it will print a list of the range. So this will have an actual list like 0 to 4, and this would just have this. Fill in the blank so that the below code does not raise any error. You can do pass easily, not a problem. You cannot do where, because if you're defining something, you have to have equal to and then some value, right? So this would be error. You can, instead of the pass, you could always have none, or you could always have true. You cannot have return none, and you cannot leave an empty line blank. So instead of pass, none is also good. True is also good. Rather, if you just type some number, that is also good, because Python goes with the indentation and class definition is not complete if there is no information. So even if you do where is equal to 0, this should also work so long as this is valid. But class does not return anything. Even if you use return or return none, this is a syntax error. So we have about 22 minutes and 8 questions. So we are doing it in a very good speed. Ideally, we finished our 40 minutes, and just plan in the exam to finish a question in 60 minutes, 60 seconds. So you will end up having some extra time to do the review. And just don't spend too much time on the question which you feel is complex, because it would kill your time and slow you down. So you can mark it as review, and then at the last you can get back and look at those questions. Choose the correct output of the following code. You have a car with the definition constructor, which is not assigning the value to the instance variable, rather a local variable. So this would end up in an error, because if this would have been self dot this, it would have been worked perfectly well. What they asked here, if it is like this, then this should give error. Choose the correct output of the following. This is really funny and good question, because it has a lot of nested method inside a method. So what you have here is a tuple. You convert it into a list. Once you convert it into a list, you passed it in a map. Now map function accepts two things. First is the list, which is you're trying to convert, and second is the iterable. So this is the iterable, and this will be passed to the list, and then it would convert all the elements, let's say Audi, in a list, like all the string in a list, and then entire thing would be another list which would be passed to the print statement. So it would be a nested list of lists. Choose the correct output of the following. You have dictionary with Ima and Mia. We're just printing the keys. So the keys would be printed like this: dict keys, my dict keys. Fill in the blanks so that below code will result in the output as 400, 490, and 800. This uses filter, this uses class, and it is asking for you to provide the return. Now please remember, first let's understand what is a filter function. So you have car filter as a method which takes the speed. If speed is more than 100, it would return true, else it can return false, right? Now what you do is, in a list filter function, you provide a function which would filter out all the objects which returns as true. Filters out means it would get those, and any value which is not true in this function would be filtered out, like that won't come in here in the object. So the false would go fine, right? Now instead of false, even if you return, for example, a scene, it would still function the same way. No, actually, because this is true here, but this would be false here. Because how Python evaluates something as Boolean is if this method is, for example, returning true. So any number, this will be true. This would be evaluated as true. Let me show you that. So if you do bool and evaluate this, so boolean will get this thing as true, and if it is empty, it is false. Anyway, the long story short is, anything which is returning true, which that will get added. So if you have true and true, every iteration filter would apply this function on each element of this iterable. So once it applies it, it would see whatever the elements are true, it would add up in this resultant iterable, and that's what will be printed. So that's what all the elements are coming here. But if you remove this would work fine. It would filter just this. So you can remove it, or you can return false, or you can return none. or you can return 0, or you can return empty string, or you can return empty list, or you can return empty dictionary, whatever, right? Or you can just skip this thing entirely as well. So let's see. This should be good. Actually, you can always leave a blank line. You do nothing, so by default, none will be there. So leave the empty line. Do this, do this, do this, and do this. All this are valid for the fill in the blank. Fill in the blank. So below code will print. You have lot of numbers in the float format. So let's look here. So you are trying to do a filter. If you do none, it will print all the values. And I guess that's what you want here. So just go with the none. Second thing is, if you pass this value here, it is not going to return you true or false. So if true is not returned, nothing would be added here. So it will be empty. But if you call this with any value x, there is nothing like x, but you have the Python, which is a defined variable here. This would go here, and this function is doing nothing, so it would return none, and then it would become none. And when none is applied on this, it would basically give you everything back. So these are the two options which would work. Consider there is a file which already have a text. Now choose correct definition of open function, so that after writing to programming using the object, you must have the text stored into welcome to programming. So they are typically asking to open in the append mode. So the file already have something, and when you open it in append mode, it will add whatever you write to the file. If you do it in read mode, you can only read, you cannot do anything else. In write mode, it would override the file. The pointer would start from the top and then override it. So if you have more values, I'm not sure if write will wipe out the file, or write is going to just write few binary bits on top of that. And there is nothing like demode or delete mode. For write mode, we can always try. So I have 3 lines over here, and let me try to say open sys.text, do it in write mode, and say f is equal to f dot write abc f dot close, and run. So this overwrites. The write basically overwrites. But if you do it in append mode, and then let's say if you have a same gen is a good programmer, this would append it after a. So this was the old contents. It has just appended that. But if you don't close the file and run this, so once the program finishes execution, it would automatically close it. So it would get run also. Otherwise, until and unless you don't finish the close, it doesn't actually writes to a file, I guess. So we can just do input name just to give you a demo. Won't print. until file is closed. So this is not showing up here, and then we'll do something print. Now it is showing up here. One more time, let's clean this, run this, do this. It's here. Run this. Check, it's not here. Now it's here. Choose the correct output of the following code. You have circle and the square. Square has area. Circle also has area, which does the multiplication. So you have overridden methods at 2 level. Now when you do square, which one would be printed as area? It's common sense that the square's area would be printed. If there are no errors, then only. So circle, everything looks good. Here also everything looks good. It is grabbing the value of x, but there is a problem. No problem. So this value would be assigned to x. 4 is 16. Which among the following code will print 4321? You have a list 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you say reversed. Just like sorted, there is a function which is called as reverse. It would reverse the string. So this will do it. Tuple, you cannot modify a tuple. Set, string you cannot modify. Probably tuple you can. And then since this is iterable, you can also do it with this value. And these three won't support it. Choose the correct output of the following code. Now you compare 20 with 20 and it's equal, so you would see Java, which is a no-brainer. Second statement is 20 minus 20 is 0. 0 is false, so you won't see Python. But then you will go to next because it is else if it is 10. 10 is considered to be true in Python. So this is a number. This is not a boolean, but we are trying to pass an expression in if it try to convert any number as true, so long as it's not 0. So you will see Java and PHP here as the answer. And we are right. So let's finish the exam and we should get more than 90% for sure. Yay! So let's review how much wrong we had and then we will look into those. So in a binary file, the data is stored as a series of bits, binary values of zeros and one. This also we were supposed to check. In a text file, the data is stored as a sequence of characters. That's not true. Files in which the contents written using specific software, for example, Word, is visible as when they are opened in a text editor. They are called as text file. Which among the following sets are variable length encoding? So I guess this is also true for UTF-8. So ASCII and 32 are fixed. As UTF-8 has the character encoding from the range 1 to 4 bytes, therefore it is called as a variable length encoding. UTF-6 has 2 bytes to 4 bytes, and this has 4 bytes only. Okay, ASCII has 1 byte. Okay, so we were supposed to click this as well. Character set, screenshot of character set is attached. Character set is a set of list of unique characters and unique encoding for each character. For example, US55, small US75. Different character set have a different list of characters. Yeah, character C is defined in the character set this, but not defined in character set ISO. So there are different character sets available, and each character has a character set. ASCII is a character set. Sometimes different character sets have different encoding for the same characters. Characters are stored as binary value in the memory by converting these encoding into binary values. What is Unicode? Unicode is a character set, and it is an information technology standard too. Unicode provides a unique number to every character. Okay, so U is 85. This is the code point, a unique number to every character. These unique numbers are called as code point. The code point starts from 0. Unicode characters cover all the languages of the world. Then we have UTF-8, which is 1 byte. UTF-16 has 2 bytes and variable length. And these are other UTF. ASCII is also a standard set containing a total of 128 characters. ASCII is one of the most commonly used character set in the early days. So this we ran it, but probably I might have forgot to click this correct answer there. So here we wanted to click on the append, but by mistake we clicked on W. So this thing can happen that you know the answer, but you might click something else. And set cannot be reversed here. Range can be reversed. Okay, so best of luck. Like this mock test exam, we already passed. So I believe you will also pass the actual exam when you go. Mm, So please leave if you have any questions or if you need any information related to Python certification, feel free to drop a comment in the YouTube video. Thanks for watching, and I'll be doing another mock test. So look at the description and you will find the link for the test, mock tests, videos, and a lot of other useful information. Thanks guys. Thanks.